Denver residents can only watch and wait as wildfires threaten hundreds of homes and thousands of acres in Colorado.
An independent probe of security at the Los Alamos laboratory is underway, with high-level scientists now facing lie detector tests.
And a jet jumps the mark and ends up inside an airport terminal. It's early this Wednesday morning, the 14th of June, 2000.
From Fifth Avenue in the heart of New York City, it's Bryant Gumbel and Jane Clayson. This is The Early Show on CBS.
And good morning. Welcome to The Early Show. And this Wednesday morning, how you like that jet?
I know. I wondered if anybody inside was hurt.
Talk about an early arrival.
I guess.
That's why they always tell you keep your seatbelt fastened, right? Until we are parked at the terminal.
Take note.
Or inside the terminal. You got that right. Among the matters we're looking to this morning, the 19-year-old son of Dr. J, Julius Irving, is missing this morning. We're going to be talking with Julius about that. Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Roundtree will be here with a preview of the new Shaft film. We'll preview an auction where graffiti is up for bid. And as we look to tonight's episode of Survivor, we'll do a little mudslinging. Jane?
Thanks, Bryant. Hundreds have been forced to flee their homes in Colorado, where two raging wildfires are the latest in the worst fire season this country has seen in years. The blazes are burning both north and southwest of Denver, and that's where our national correspondent Hattie Kaufman is this morning. Hattie, good morning.
Good morning, Jane. Of the two fires burning outside in Denver, the one here, called the High Meadow Fire, is definitely the most threatening to homes. Already, at least 7 subdivisions have been evacuated, and the fire is still out of control. Those who are forced from their homes can do nothing but wait and wonder. Gusting winds and tinder-dry terrain, a mix that left firefighters unable to stop the blaze.
My house is over there by the smoke.
The fire broke out Monday, and some say exploded. Homeowners had just minutes to grab belongings and run.
What did you grab to save out of the house?
Clothes. I got my mom's fingernail polish and blankets for the baby.
Important things.
Mm-hmm.
No toys for yourself?
The high school gym has become an evacuation center.
You can give people food and shelter, but the one thing you can't give them is the knowledge that their house is safe.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Russell Howell watches a tiny TV, hoping for good news.
Well, I'm just really concerned that they can get the fire out as soon as they can. I just really don't want to lose my house.
Every few hours, the evacuees gather for updates.
It is not under control at this point. That's why they're keeping everybody out.
Each person pores over the maps to see if their home is in the fire's path.
And all it has to do is this little ridge, and we're toast.
No one is being allowed back in, not yet. Not with the shifting winds, and firefighters still being called in. A few can breathe easier. Out of 11 homes in Dan Russell's neighborhood, only his was left standing.
Yeah, we're happy. We're happy. You know, our neighbor's house, though, many of them just gone.
This is one family that heard the worst.
They handed us a paper, and there was our address and on a list of homes that say structures destroyed. And my mother almost collapsed, and we've just been trying to recover ever since.
Marcy's parents, Lloyd and Margie Nodell, were selling their home. They were supposed to close on the sale Monday, and now the home's gone.
The thing I want most now is to be able to go there, even though I know it's gone.
I had the hardest time when the neighbors said their house was still standing, and you try to smile and you say, you know, God bless you, you know, your home is still there for you. But it's you think, it's right next door, why not ours?
Tough situation for a lot of folks here. There is, however, some good news this morning. Authorities have downgraded the number of homes destroyed. Originally, they thought there were 38 gone. Now they're saying only 29. Jane?
All right, Hattie Kaufman in Denver this morning. Hattie, thank you. Colorado's Governor Bill Owens has declared a state of emergency. He is in Denver also this morning. Governor, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Can you describe to us what you saw on the aerial tour that you took yesterday?
Just a very serious situation. We have 2 fires here, each more than 5,000 acres, both still out of control. Flew over both yesterday in a helicopter, and it's a scene of some very significant devastation.
And how difficult are conditions for firefighters?
Well, they're horrible. We had gusts yesterday of more than 50 miles per hour. We have very dry tinder-like situation. It's probably the worst combination that you could imagine in bad conditions to fight a fire.
Yeah. After the fires in New Mexico, you put a hold on controlled burns on federal land in your state. Do you regret that decision now, given what's happened?
No, not at all. I'm a supporter of controlled burns under the right situation, and they certainly can help us avoid situations like this. However, in the situation we've been facing in the West for the last 30 to 45 days, it's not a time to be doing a controlled burn. These weren't controlled burns. These were, one we expect was from lightning, one was from a campfire, but it's certainly not a time to be considering controlled burns in Colorado.
Right, but the controlled burn could have helped prevent maybe these fires by controlling the brush and getting it under control.
Definitely not in the last 45 days. It wouldn't have helped control it. There is a time for controlled burns, and over the last month to 2 months, it's been too dry in the western United States to consider it. I support controlled burns under the right circumstances. Now and over the last 30 days wouldn't have been the right circumstance.
You've seen pictures of the people, you've heard the people who've lost their homes, lost everything that they have. What are your words to them this morning?
Well, our hearts go out to them. All across Colorado, aid is coming to those who've been victimized by these fires, and Colorado is going to look after its own. Our main challenge, though, is protecting lives and property. That's what these firefighters are going to be doing starting in a few minutes this morning once again.
Any prediction as to when these fires will be contained?
We expect it'll take at least a week, if not weeks, to contain these two fires, given the conditions that we face here in Colorado.
All right. Governor Bill Owens, good luck to you through it all. Thank you.
Thank you much.
7:07 now. Here's Brian.
All right, Jane. The disappearance of some top-secret nuclear weapons information from the Los Alamos National Laboratory has outraged officials in Washington. Energy Secretary Bill Richardson has launched a probe into the security breach, and Congress is conducting its own investigation. Fred Upton of Michigan heads the House Commerce Subcommittee looking into the matter. He's on Capitol Hill. Congressman Upton, good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
Let's start off with the disks themselves. How sensitive is the information on these two hard drives that are missing?
There is nothing like this that you'd want ever to get into somebody else's hands. We had a briefing yesterday, and I can just tell you that this is probably the most sensitive, secret information that you could possibly want on these things. And for it to have disappeared now for more than a month without really a trace, sending a lot of people screwing to try and find it.
It's not just the disappearance, it's the timetable that seems disturbing. Let me just kind of walk through it here. Officials secured the lab on May the 7th, and then 3 days later found the disk missing. Then came the fires. The lab got back in operation on May the 22nd, and they began a search then, but still no report. And it wasn't until June the 2nd that it was reported to the FBI. How do you explain that?
There are no good answers here. In fact, your timetable is a little bit off. They actually discovered that the discs were missing before the fire started. Then they shut down. On May the 10th? On May 7th, actually.
Okay.
And then they shut down the lab. They didn't do anything in terms of talking to the folks who had access to the vault. 26 folks had access there. They scattered about the winds, I guess, during those couple of weeks. Then, when the lab reopened on the 24th, they began to look for it again. Still didn't tell the FBI, still didn't tell the director of the lab. And not until the end of the month did they tell the director of the lab, John Brown, and only then did he tell the FBI.
Do you think the delay suggests a cover-up?
I think that maybe they thought they could find them, but they surely didn't. And they could, clearly they were gone even before the fire started. There's no trace. These things are, a number of us went out, a number of members of Congress went out in January to look at this particular site, know the vault. Only 26 people had access to that vault without an escort, and they can't find them.
How likely is it that amid all the fuss of the fire and securing the place because of the fire and getting back into business, do you think they've just been misplaced? Is that possible?
It's possible. Nobody knows the answer to that, and they are scurrying to try and find out. Today, in fact, they're going to begin to polygraph all the 26 individuals who had access to that vault, and hopefully, but within the next day or two, as long as it takes to polygraph. They've all been interviewed.
Yeah.
I guess they passed the interviews, and now they got to polygraph them to see who's not telling the truth.
Senator Carl of Arizona was quoted as saying there is physical evidence to suggest theft. Do you have any knowledge of such evidence?
We do not have that. We had an open hearing yesterday. We had a classified hearing after that. That did not. We did not hear those details if such are true.
Secretary Richardson says his intelligence people do not believe espionage was involved. Are you inclined to agree with that?
I don't think you can rule that out at this point. Not until we know exactly where they are. I don't think you can rule that out.
As I think most people...
This is a Tom Clancy movie. I mean, this is a book without a very good ending here so far.
Oh, Wen Ho Lee worked at this lab also. He's awaiting trial on charges. He misused lab data. Was security altered after his arrest? Do you know?
It was altered, though I'm not sure that it was. I mean, in essence, what you had here was you had a vault that was very secure and armed, and folks coming in and out of it. But the security clearance was such that only 26 people had access to that without an escort. And these things were locked inside the vault, but in fact the security was such there was not a camera inside, and anyone that got into that vault in fact could take things out. These were in a locked bag within the vault and in pockets, in a cloth pocket, and they were taken out of the pocket.
So all we know is they're missing.
They're missing, and they better find it, and they better find them real quick.
Congressman Fred Upton. Congressman, thanks very much. Good luck to you.
You bet.
It's 11 past the hour. Let's go to the news desk. Julie Chen. Jules, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. An accident this morning at one of the busiest airports serving the New York area. An MD-80 lurches forward and into the terminal. WCBS TV helicopter pilot Jim Smith has more.
6 people suffered minor injuries this morning when this Continental jet crashed through a wall at Newark Airport. The nose of the plane went through a gate in Terminal C. Now, it's unknown at this time whether the 6 people that were injured were all on the plane or if they were actually inside the terminal. And the cause of this crash is under investigation. It's still trying to be determined whether the plane hit the wall under its own power or if it was being towed in. Jim Smith for CBS News, New York.
The jet was a Continental MD-80. Authorities say there were no passengers on board at the time of the accident. There is progress to report in the historic summit between the leaders of North and South Korea, a wide-ranging agreement between the two countries still technically at war. South Korean President Kim Dae-jung and North Korean leader Kim Jong-il met today in the North Korean capital. The accord will reportedly involve easing of tensions and the reunification of families. And that is the news this morning. Now let's go outside to Mark McEwen with our first check of the weather. Mark, how's it going?
Oh man, oh man, oh man. It just stopped raining. Patches of drizzle out here. It's funky, it's wonky, it's ugly. Hey, it's just another June day in New York City, huh? 54 degrees in New York right now. Let's go around the globe, spanning the globe on this Wednesday. Northeast, mostly cloudy, patches of drizzle. We just hit one of the patches right now. It's kind of ugly out here. If you're going to be heading out today, make sure you take well, not an overcoat, but a raincoat at least. Temperatures will flirt right around in the mid-60s, especially for New York, and parts north will be a little bit cooler. North Central Virginia, that begins the heat all the way down to the Gulf Coast of Florida. Hot and steamy. Central Plains of Rockies, mostly sunny. Hot in California today, especially inland. Fresno, Sacramento, well over 100. The desert's 110. Let's give you a trouble spot. The only place I can think that's worse than where we're standing right now. Dakotas and Minnesota. Same as it had yesterday, a big old strong storm sitting there spinning and spinning. High winds, 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts. Bands of heavy rain, cool temperatures. It's ugly. It's June in the year 2000. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Here's an early look at your weather.
Well, good morning, everyone. A mixture of clouds and sunshine this morning. Temperatures very warm in the 70s. By lunchtime, we are starting to look for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms for everyone. Right now, a quick look at our live pinpoint Doppler radar shows a band of showers that have decided to turn north, and these are mainly affecting northwestern Indiana, Newton, Jasper, Porter, and Lake County, picking up a few scattered showers. Temperatures will climb up to 82 degrees this afternoon, and a chance for some very strong thunderstorms today.
Welcome back, Jane and Brian. And Brian, yes, have you ever played outside in a day like this?
Yeah, I don't start in the rain, but I'll keep playing in the rain.
Okay.
Slugging right on through. Whatever it takes.
We've been having a mini debate here about whether or not that plane can actually be towed into that position it's in at Newark.
And you think the tow would have gone right through the wall itself?
Well, I mean, wouldn't the tow have had to hit the wall first?
I think they tow from the wheels underneath, don't they? They're not in front of the plane.
No, they do. But I mean, on an MD-80, I don't think there's enough clearance underneath for the tow to be there. I think it has to be a larger passenger jet for the tow to have enough clearance to tow from directly underneath. But anyway.
Get that right on that.
Anyway, 6 people injured.
Quite a picture.
Very strange. Great ad for Continental, I'm sure. Yeah.
They're real happy about it, aren't they?
Up next, the latest on the pardon granted to a man who tried to kill the Pope nearly 2 decades ago. And we'll check our Market Watch report, too. It's 1:15. We're back on a Wednesday morning right after this. You're watching The Early Show on CBS.
This portion of CBS 2 Chicago is brought to you by Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center.
Up ahead on The Early Show, our Yikes, I'm a Grown-Up series. Stay with us. You're watching The Early Show on CBS.
We're back now, 7:18. This morning, a homecoming of sorts for the man who tried to assassinate Pope John Paul II nearly 20 years ago. For Mehmet Ali Agca, an act of fate has put him back where he began. Alan Pizzi is in Rome.
He may have been forgiven by the Pope and pardoned by the Italian government, but Mehmet Ali Agca now has to serve time in a Turkish jail. The man who tried to kill Pope John Paul II in St. Peter's Square in 1981 was deported to Turkey after serving nearly 19 years of a life sentence in Italy. The 43-year-old Agca was on the run after serving only 158 days of a 10-year sentence for murder in Turkey when he tried to kill the Pope. He will now have to finish that jail term. In a recent interview, Agca said that if he ever was freed, he would lead a holy life. But his pardon by Italy had more to do with the wishes of Pope John Paul II than any of the many and diverse pronouncements Agca has made about his life and motives. He has variously claimed to have been part of a conspiracy, Jesus Christ, and a victim who had history imposed on him. Only the Pope may know for sure. John Paul II forgave Agca 2 days after the shooting, and again in a jail cell meeting with him nearly 2 years later. The Vatican expressed pleasure that the official pardon came in the Jubilee year, whose theme is pardon and forgiveness.
This decision has been accepted, has been received with joy by the Holy Father.
Agca's lawyer quoted her client as saying the pardon was a dream come true. Given the reputation of Turkish jails, however, Agca may well look back on his time in Italian prison with nostalgia. And he's not likely to be granted clemency again. Bryant?
Alan, those of us who've seen the movie Midnight Express can only imagine the rest of what a Turkish prison is like. But Agca faces special problems if he's in prison there, doesn't he?
He does indeed, Bryant, because remember, he was a member of the Grey Wolves, a right-wing terrorist group that gave the Turkish authorities a lot of trouble. He claimed at one point that the killing was part of a conspiracy by the Bulgarian and Soviet Secret Service. The Turks are going to want to know what Agca knows. They're also going to have to be very worried that somebody is going to want him dead. So he's not going to have a very easy time in prison, and the Turks aren't going to have an easy time keeping him safe, Bryant.
Do you know if he'll be in general population or in a special solitary?
They haven't said yet, but I would imagine that someone like him would be in special solitary. He was kept away from other prisoners in Italy, and I think the same thing would have to happen in Turkey, Brian.
All right. Alan Pizzi in Rome. Alan, thank you very much. It's 20 past the hour. Time for this morning's Market Watch. Here's Susan McGinnis. Susan?
Good morning, Brian. Thank you. We're watching Microsoft today. The stock could get a lift in trading. Microsoft appears to have won the latest battle in its antitrust war with the government. Just 1 week after a federal judge ordered the company broken up into two, the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has signaled its eagerness to hear the company's appeal. The government wanted the case to go directly to the Supreme Court. We have Microsoft shares higher by about 2 points in after-hours trading. Checking Wall Street for you, late-day buying made for a Tuesday turnaround. Investors taking comfort in signs of a slowing economy. Bid up the Dow Industrials about 57.5 points. Buyers showed up in droves to snap up tech stocks. The Nasdaq rising a nice 83 points in the last session. Optimistic comments from Fed head Alan Greenspan curbed their fears of higher interest rates. And another inflation report could drive trading today. May's consumer price index is seen rising only modestly. Well, oil prices hit another 3-month high in the last session. OPEC's refusal to immediately raise production is getting most of the blame. So we're watching that for you. Check that out on our website, cbs.marketwatch.com. We're also on AOL at Keyword Market Watch. Send it back to Bryant and Jay.
All right, Susan, thanks very much.
Susan.
Still ahead, Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Roundtree, the past and present John Shaft. You're watching The Early Show. Can you dig it?
CBS Market Watch sponsored by Chrysler.